Here's something that bothered me for years. The tea plant grows perfectly normal green tea leaves, right? Like any bush in a garden. So why is it that matcha has such an electric green jade color? Like that color is just not natural. And I always felt like somebody or something had to happen to make it happen, right? And so what was that? And the wild part is like it's the one single decision, make made weeks before the leaf is ever picked, that and that decision explains that color, right? The sweetness, the price, all at the same time. My name is Christian, and I run a tea brand called OnewithTea, and I got to stand in these shaded fields in Japan, which is what made all of this finally click for me. So let me show you exactly what shading is, what it does to the plant, and why this is one old trick that makes a difference between a bright, sweet, expensive bowl of matcha and a dull, bitter, cheap one. Once you see it, you'll never look at the color the same way. Here's the move. For about 3 weeks before the harvest of matcha, farmers cover the tea plants, traditional with reed and straw, and today often with black netting, and that blocks most of the sunlight, right? So somewhere around 85 to 90% of it, and the fields, the plant kind of goes dim, and it's deliberate. It's the labor that the people need to put in and kind of a little bit of a gamble on the weather and the timing. So, yeah, they're choosing on purpose to starve the plant of the one thing that every plant wants, which is light. And the plants kind of panic, which is exactly the point. So, when you take away light from a plant, the plant fights to survive, right? And two things happen that change everything in a cup. First, it overproduces chlorophyll, the green pigment, right, the green color, trying to catch every last bit of light it can. Like that's why the leaves are very deep green. Like it tries to, look for all the light that's there that it can get. And this is where the vivid jade color comes from, right? Kind of a little bit of desperation of the plant from a struggle of the plant. So I always invite people to take a moment and appreciate thank you, plant, for suffering for us, because a lot of people I think don't know what goes into matcha production. So yeah, it's kind of like a beautiful process. That struggle creates such sweetness. And then the second thing is which is the real magic, is like the plant holds onto an amino acid called L-theanine. And in the full sun, that L-theanine slowly converts into catechins, which are the compounds that taste a little bitter, a little astringent. And if you shade the plant, that conversion mostly stops. So the leaf stays loaded with L-theanine, which tastes sweet and savory. And that deep brothy quality is what the Japanese call umami. And it never builds up the harsh bitterness that you get from tea that's just out in the sun all day. Okay? So look at what a single decision bought, right? The vivid green color, the sweet, umami, low bitterness flavor, those aren't three separate features you're paying for, they're all the same thing. And they all come from the shading. So that's why it matters when you're standing in a shop. A dull yellowish bitter matcha is very often just a leaf that wasn't really shaded or properly prepared, or not shaded long enough. So yeah, because they wanted to speed up the harvest in one way or another. And a vivid sweet one is the shade grown, showing up in your bowl. Like the color is basically a receipt for the craft that's behind the leaf, right? And the price also makes sense. Shading is weeks of extra work. Like matcha is more expensive than other tea because more work goes into it, right? Extra work, extra materials, and it also the yield is lower than other teas because a plant that's kept in the dark also grows less, right? You also have to think about that. Then the best shaded leaf for matcha or for gyokuru is often hand-picked from just the youngest top, leaf in a bud, and ground in a stone mill that turns out only 30 to 40 grams, which is 1 ounce per hour. So that's like the top of the notch. Like not everything on the market is hand-picked and, it was stone mill ground, or I would say almost none of it is, right? You mostly don't get that here in the States. You really have to look for it in Japan, kind of. So yeah, when good matcha costs more, you're not paying for a fancy tin, you're paying for weeks of someone deliberately making their own harvest harder, because that's the only way to get that green, that sweetness, that umami. So yeah, don't skip it, and you'll know, and you can taste when someone did the shortcut. So yeah, there's something I keep turning over about all of this. Like, to make the finest tea in the world, you don't push the plant harder, you slow it down, right? You hold it in the quiet and the dark for a while, and what comes out is a deeper, sweeter, concentrated than the version that grew fast from the sun. So very interesting to think about from a philosophical standpoint. So yeah, anyways, I don't think I need to spell out why that stays with me, but we could probably all use a few weeks in the shade now and then to slow down and get in alignment with ourselves again, right? That's also why I drink tea, because it always kind of aligns me, brings me back. So the next time you see that unreal, wild jade green, electric green, you'll know this isn't nature showing off. It's by choice. 3 weeks in the dark, made by a farmer who cared more about the cup than the calendar. So yeah, feel free to check out our offerings at OnewithTea on our website. And I'm really excited that you're here, and may you become one with tea, one with yourself.